Do you want to check your phone, Mum?
Yeah, I've got it ready to go.
Okay, well, it should be starting.
Yes, we're
Okay,
live.
we're live. Hello and welcome everyone to She's of Love. And today we have some beautiful topics of conversation with a beautiful person,
Yeah.
Renee. The topic for today is family and relationships. And I think we're going to deep dive into this. And, before we press the live button, we were kind of talking about how awakening can kind of, it's family and relationships aren't talked about, and how they change during awakening and during the spiritual journey and everything. So I think we're going to touch on that a little bit today.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome, Renee. Is there anything, I think just to get right into it,
Yeah.
like how we'll pass the baton on to you. How do you want to start
Well,
this?
before we go,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want, if anybody's watching and you guys have comments that you want to say or things that you want to ask, just do that and I'll check the comments and then we can involve you in the video with Renee. So the floor is yours, Renee. How did you want to start with us today?
I guess, yeah, so a few things. I know you've had me on before, so thank you for having me back. Thanks, guys. Yeah, and thanks everyone for having me back here in this space too, for your people watching on. I really appreciate being able to have a floor to speak to the silence. I feel like that's what I'm talking to, because I think, and I'm just owning this about myself, that a lot of my life, my voice has been silenced in different areas. And I'm not going to be silenced anymore. And I think we need to, us women in particular, need to start speaking up about this stuff. Okay. And just on another note, is there was even a Teal Swan video I watched this morning. I don't know if you girls have come across Teal Swan.
I know Teal
If
Swan,
you
yeah.
Right. If you haven't come across her, please find her, Teal Swan. She has some very hard-hitting advice, some reality bites, challenging comment type advice. I was watching a Teal Swan video just this morning, maybe it's like energetically preparing to talk about this stuff today. And what she says is very interesting about single motherhood. And so this is for everyone out there, is that our society wasn't designed for single mothers, is her argument. And so that's a big part of one of the issues that we have in our society. And this is no target of anyone. I've got lots of single mother friends. I'm not a single mother, so I'm not going to talk to knowing what it's like or any of that kind of stuff. This is just someone else's advice. So I want to also raise in our conversation today, if something triggers you, please call a therapist, please call Lifeline, Beyond Blue, 1-800-RESPECT. If anyone gets triggered, know that this is not targeted at you.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking to the silence, the radio silence about this. So what I guess I wanted to say, and with that in mind, I counsel a lot of women who are single mothers, but I'm seeing a theme. I'm seeing a theme in my own life. I'm seeing a theme in the single mothers as well. I'm a mother, so I can talk to that. I've got 3 kids. Like, I can talk to how that's been over the last few years. What I really, really think we need to talk to, and I'm sure you could talk to this, is Gen X versus millennials and baby boomers. And I feel like I'm particularly, because I'm Gen X, squeezed between those two generations, and a lack of understanding of, there's this lot of stuff online going, okay, boomer, like, young people who do think they know better than their parents, and sometimes they might about tech, but what if they don't about life? And so this is the other part. So the lack of acknowledgement of wisdom, I'm getting a bit angry and hot under the collar about, and the lack of acknowledgement of that knowledge is a power, but it doesn't have to be used as a force for bad.
Yeah,
Used as a
so
force
true.
for good.
So you're
So
talking about disrespect. So a
yeah,
disrespect for Generation X. Is that what you're talking about for the
yeah, there's
parents?
that.
So the
Yep,
millennials are disrespecting their parents who are Generation X.
yep,
Yeah, right.
definitely.
Yeah,
And and I'm not just speaking for not I'm talking about in general
yeah,
because I counsel even so I'm counseling all of the generations, so I can actually even speak to this, the things
yeah,
that young people are saying versus the things middle age is saying versus the things that are elderly that people are saying. I'm counseling all of those generations.
yeah. We're
So
interested in that. We're interested in your
yeah,
perspective here.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like I can speak to it on a personal, professional, and even more global kind of level. Because
Mm,
also what I'm seeing, I do a bit of social media, what I'm seeing on that, you know, and just a lack of respect
yeah,
in
right.
general. A respect for fellow life.
Yeah,
Like
right.
we can talk Israel and Palestine too. Like like we don't even want to go into because holy dooly, that's a
Can you
hot
repeat
point.
what you just said? Because we've
Mm.
lost you. We lost you there.
Oh, and it's interesting. I was just talking about Israel and Palestine.
Mm,
Isn't that
mm.
interesting in this space?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just Israel and Palestine, I said that's a bit of a hot thing. And so I
Yes.
don't necessarily want to, and so many people say you've got to pick sides. Well, the side I will pick is humans.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people say that, oh my God, humans are evil. Well, actually, we're not always. What we need to understand is we are yin and yang, and it's what we choose to be.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
yin and yang, and it's what we choose to be. But the absolute catch of this is what if everybody around us, and Freud talked about this, and I see this in my clients, and at times I've seen it in my personal life too. What if a lot of the people around us are horrible people?
Mm,
Problem is that rubs off on us,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? And some people have to go to therapy
This is so,
because of this.
Renee, we were talking about this yesterday. This
Yep,
exact subject about horrible people versus people
yep,
who are just in distress and doing horrible
yes,
things temporarily. So are they
exactly.
innately horrible or are they just
Choosing to
choosing
do.
to be horrible because they're stressed out?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a big distinction. Hurt people
Yes.
hurt people. However, if you're in a position of power, do not misuse your power
Yeah.
on distressed individuals.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
that is preying on vulnerability,
Mm.
and on top of that, we can go down the track of that's when it's narcissism, or that's when it's
Yes.
sociopathy, or that's
Yes.
when it's so because you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. It's premeditated.
But here's the thing, sometimes some people around people in general can be so horrible, you almost have to be horrible back
Yes.
to get the message through. It's
This is
terrible. So
perfect.
this is the problem with all these harsh boundaries. Sometimes you need them for your own sanity. And then the other
Yeah.
person thinks you're being horrible. But the problem is they were horrible first. I mean, if you look at Jesus's teachings, again, like if you go back to this kind of Jesus way, is, you don't throw the first punch, but an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it depends
An
on
eye for an
how
eye makes
much.
the whole world blind.
I know, but this is the thing, Juliet, because we were talking about this yesterday. It's not an eye for an eye. Like what we experienced yesterday, I put a harsh boundary down for myself, and
Mhm.
Why don't we tell them the whole story?
Yeah, we can. I just want to finish this point.
Okay.
Okay. So I put like, it was like, this is shit. Like, this is crap. And I knew it was crap. And Juliet was like, but just because a person does a crap thing doesn't mean that they're a horrible person. And I'm like, but this time I think this person is a horrible person, and I'm going to be vocal about that. But that doesn't make
Mhm.
me a horrible person because I've been vocal about something that I saw that was wrong. And because I'm vocal, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be nasty to the next person. Like, I can still show up as a kind person in life
Yes.
with kind acts, even if I'm
Yes.
vocally, hey, you, that was crap, don't do that again, sort of person, like if I call it
Exactly.
out. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Do you want
And
to,
this is, yeah,
sorry,
this is the
Renee,
problem even, yeah, sorry, keep going.
do you want to tell the story or what?
No, I think it's we if it comes up later, it's just some dude was being an asshole in a parking spot.
Yeah, it wasn't like deep, 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 but it was the perfect like thing that happened that sparked this conversation between
I
Juliet and I.
I think it's good to bring it up because there's two perspectives that are like my perspective and mum's perspective. In the moment they clashed,
Oh, they were so,
but
yeah,
hang on.
yeah. I'm just agreeing with you.
But now I think they're really a very similar argument at the end of the day because basically this dude, we were wanting to park. Someone was leaving a car park, and we were wanting. Mum was indicating to go, but the guy that was already parked
Behind
behind the guy that
that
was
was leaving.
leaving ended up moving forward and taking two spots as we're waiting to go in. It was so rude, right?
So rude.
But he was an old man. He was a really old man, and
He
when
wasn't that old.
he was an old man. I'm
He
sorry.
was about 70 something.
And and mum was like, we got to say something to him. So we were telling him, like, what are you doing? And he looked really confused. And, looking
He
back,
looked fake confused.
yes,
He looked fake confused.
he was acting confused. And at the time, I didn't know if he was meaning to do it or what. And mum's reaction, I love you, but it was
To be honest.
it was very angry. And I love you,
Yeah.
and it was very intense. And I'm like, and you literally said that he's a horrible person. That's what you said. And I was saying my point was,
Because I read his energy, right? I could see the situation that
Mhm.
he was actually not that old and he wasn't that confused, that he wanted two spaces for his own convenience so that when he went to leave, he could just pull out and not have to go backwards and forwards to pull out. But the thing
Mhm.
is that he was parked in a very busy street where everybody
Mm.
comes and goes like comes and goes,
I mean,
because there's a lot of
the
shops
issue is
there.
you're indicating to go into the spot that
Yeah, he
he's
could see
now.
me.
It's not even the busy part. It's the fact that someone's literally there indicating waiting to go in. I thought it was so absurd that he would do this on purpose. That was my
Yeah,
thinking.
she couldn't comprehend that
I was
he
like,
was
there's
not.
no way that he's doing this while we're indicating to go into the spot.
Yeah,
And then when
Mm.
mum blew up and got really angry,
I didn't
I
blow
would.
up that bad. I was like, can you please either move forward? I said to him, can you move forward or back so I can get in? Because I'd like to get in. And he was kind of going, what, like this, like, I don't understand. Like, what are you saying to me? And that's when I started to get a little bit like, you can understand me. And then I was like, this guy is like, like this in the car. And Juliet wasn't very happy with me because.
No. I was honestly, I just thought that it was a really intense reaction
For the situation.
for the situation,
I
which is
didn't.
not,
Mm.
which is not saying that it's not valid, but I
No,
was trying to,
you thought
I
I
was trying to bring
overreacted.
some positivity. And basically I said, just because you said that he was a horrible person, I said, you
Yeah.
can't judge one person's shitty choice
Yes.
and lump their whole humanity into that one choice.
Yeah. But I knew.
That was your argument.
Yeah.
But
So
I
tell,
didn't.
Tell,
I
tell
didn't.
them. Tell
I
them
was-
what happened then. Tell them what happened then. So get the story continues. We went to Aldi to do our
No,
shopping.
you told me to tell it.
Yeah,
I'm
go
going
on.
to tell it.
Go on.
So then we went into Aldi. We went into Aldi, and the guy was there in line.
Yeah, he was
waiting
in front of us in line.
Yeah.
Aldi.
There was about 5 people waiting for the groceries to get scanned, right? There was and when we got up to the line, there was a drunk man who was trying to bag all of his groceries.
He
but
he was functionally drunk. He
Yeah.
was drunk, but he wasn't
But
like
he was
falling
very
over.
clearly like
Yeah.
he was talking really loud and being like, "Oh, sorry guys, I'm trying to do this."
Yeah.
Like he was fumbling
Yeah.
and he was taking his time. And he was holding up the line, if you will.
Yes.
And then so it was that drunk man, and then it was the asshole right behind him. And
Old man.
the old man. And then they got in a bit, I didn't hear the conversation, but they got in a bit of a tiffy, and the old man ended up like paying for
Old
his
man. No, they didn't get in a tiffy. The old man was upset with him for taking so long and being drunk. He was very short and very like,
I guess, grumpy.
yeah, very grumpy with him because he was in a hurry. Of course, again, only thinking about himself. He didn't care about the rest of the people in the line, and he made a thing about it. And so the checkout lady checked him out, rung his stuff up and let him leave so that this guy who was drinking could pack his stuff and then he could go without any arguing, right? And so then it was our turn, and so I helped the
Well,
guy.
hang on, you're missing a huge part.
Oh, what? Sorry.
This is where like
Oh, yeah, I did miss a bit. Yes.
So the old man pays for his groceries, and what I read out of the situation, again, this might be wrong, but from what I gathered, the old man that took the parking spot, before he left the grocery store, I think he made a snarky comment at the
yes,
drunk
sorry,
man.
Juliet, you're right.
He said something before he left. And when he was leaving, the drunk man yelled really loud so everyone could hear. Well, oh yeah, thanks, mate. You win.
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong.
Sucker of the year. That's what he said. You win Sea Sucker of the Year, and I'm sure you can gather what that means, like what I'm trying to say there. And my mum was just
started laughing.
looked at me because we had just had a 5-minute conversation, I guess a debate on the way to Aldi, on the way to the grocery store about how you shouldn't lump my side of you shouldn't lump someone's whole world and whole being into one choice. And she was like saying how she, her side of the argument. And then
whatever that was.
Yeah, no, well, I don't want to speak for your side of the argument. That's why.
No, well, I was like, well, you can tell certain types, like you can tell the way a person deals with you that they are that way.
Yeah.
You can tell sometimes.
Yes.
And then, and oh, sorry, you go.
I can go into that later as to why you can tell certain types. So this might be interesting for you, Juliet. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, keep going. Yeah.
Yes. So after like a 5-minute heated debate, I won't say argument, but it was definitely
we were laughing through it.
Yeah,
laughing through it.
Here's the guy yelling after the old man that we just had this conversation about.
And
she, it was justice for mum. She went, and she was so loud. She didn't care about anyone. She didn't care about the man that probably was looking at her so crazy. She was like, you did.
No, I didn't. I said that's the universe communicating with you and showing you the truth. Because I don't necessarily want to be right. It's not about me being right. It's about you seeing things as they are rather than seeing things with a lens that wouldn't necessarily put you like in the right space or in the space of that truth in that moment.
Yeah.
Because yes, I understand where you're coming from, that you know, you can't always tell from one interaction how a person's personality has developed, or if they are a really good person or if they aren't. You can't always tell. But I could tell with this dude that the way he interacted with me when he was trying to take 2 car spaces was that he was putting on a show. He wasn't being genuine. And the genuine guy came out when he was in line in Aldi. His genuine personality was shown then, because he was all about himself. He wasn't about the people around him or this wider community. He didn't care about them. He only cared about how life was affecting him. And he was in scarcity. He was completely and utterly living from scarcity, which made him that way. And so that lesson was that whole thing was shown. It was like a movie in front of us.
Yeah, it was actually really insane.
It was insane. And it was like, Juliet, there you go. Like, that's him showing his true colors, because the way he stormed off, the way he treated that gentleman who was drunk, who wasn't hurting anybody, he was very polite. He was having trouble putting the stuff in his bags.
But
he was.
The only inconvenience out of it was
time.
Time. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I could tell the reason why he was trying to take up 2 car spaces in that street was so that he could just leave without having to go forward and back. And the funny part of it was we left before he did.
So he's still got
all the room in the world to be able to leave the car space. So, you know, like, Renee, it was perfect. It was perfect situation for Juliet to see. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about how you can tell when a person is interacting with you, if that they are a good person or if they really probably aren't.
Yeah. This is the clincher.
Yeah.
If someone displays with their behaviors, so, you know, like the old saying, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
That is how you tell someone's true character.
Yeah, right. If their words and their actions don't meet, they're not in alignment.
Well, no, yes and no. What I guess I'm saying something separate. I'll separate those 2 things out.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay. So we all misalign, all of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're Buddha or himself or Jesus even. Like, really, we all misalign.
Okay.
And sorry to the Christians if you're watching that. Honestly, like, seriously, everyone who's been alive as a human, sentient being, we are fallible.
Okay.
And if you think you're perfect, think again.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not sorry. Your shit stinks in the dark and you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing. But whether you're aligned or not is different to actions speaking louder than words. They are 2 separate things.
Right.
Okay. Actions. Let's go with actions. The person who does the most reliable actions is the most trustworthy. The person who does the least reliable actions is the least trustworthy.
Right.
So Brené Brown has work on this, but also this is what we're taught in therapy school as well. If you do long-term psychotherapy training, basically it's all about, so we'll talk about alignment in a minute, but it's all about is your person that you like, this is even for therapists, if you're going to a therapist, is a person you're going to reliable? Do they show up every time for your therapy appointment? The therapist should, but what if they don't? So there's that. But they're also fallible too. So on both sides of the fence, like, so you as a client, are you showing up to your own therapy? You're not even being reliable for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't have self-trust if you don't show up for yourself.
Yes.
So this conversation here is actually me showing up for myself. There's a whole bunch of other things that's going on personally for me.
Yes.
It's to actually speak to the unspoken.
Yes. I love that.
So
I love it.
and it, we need to talk to the unspoken, the disenfranchised,
Yeah.
the people who are disenfranchised, the people who enfranchise themselves against the disenfranchisement means that you're winning out at the expense of someone else.
Yeah, that's so triggering. That
Yeah?
trigger that scenario triggers me so deeply. I don't know what it is about me, but that injustice really gets to me. It's so
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's very
Mm-hmm.
frustrating.
You and me both, from so many levels.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to, things that happened to me as a child, like, because I'm a small lady, very small. So if you meet me, I'm different. And this is the catch with humans. And I think we really need to talk about this today, because this is true for families. So it's the micro, meso, and macro kind of thing that I'm talking to today, like small, medium, large, like micro being the family, meso being, the general community, and then the macro being the world, on the world scale. What's happening on the world scale? So they talk about, so this is the alignment stuff and the, whatever. But that in particularly person-centered therapy is called congruence. So, and probably congruence is a better word than alignment, which is also interesting. So alignment, we can be misaligned regularly, which is interesting. We can just have a bad conversation and become misaligned. But are you still achieving the goals that you set out to do? Are you still living the life the way that you want to live? Even if you're being rattled sometimes here and there and people and things are throwing you off on alignment, congruence means heart and head in alignment.
I'm writing that word down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is gold, by the way, Renee. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Yeah. So congruence itself is a mathematical term where everything adds up.
Yeah.
Same on the left as the right. If you have a congruent formula, it means it balances out. So congruence is about balance more than alignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I get it.
So at the moment, the world is off balance. We're going to need to get back to balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the main balance, and this is the balance point from particularly the person-centered therapists and psychotherapists, that's my main training, my main like foundational training. There's 3 components to person-centered practice, but this just means almost you being able to be there for someone else. But first up, you got to do the same for yourself. So first up, do like oxygen mask, not other masks, but oxygen mask on yourself, and then the oxygen mask you can then put on the child, or if you're a therapist, on the other person, or you guys so put the oxygen mask on yourself and then the other, so that you're looking after yourself.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's about self-trust, self-alignment, self-congruence first before you go to other congruence. So the micro, meso, macro can even come into the microcosm being ourselves. So, and then if you look into transpersonal psychotherapy, which I've studied a lot and work in that area as well. So transpersonal is like just anything beyond the person. So anything that's spiritual is transpersonal.
Okay.
Anything that's unseen is transpersonal. Anything that's in the shadows is transpersonal.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be religious or faith-based or anything. So if anyone's commenting back about religion, blah, 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 it's, so no. It's you can be atheist and still believe in the transpersonal, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because of quantum science and quantum physics and all that kind of stuff. There's now
Yeah.
proof in that area. Right? So, but a big however, if we go deep into the transpersonal, it's the space between, and that's what's in the silence. If we have too much silence, silence is violence.
Yes, so true.
Yeah?
Yeah.
However, silence can be golden too if we're taking back our own silence to process our emotions. If we are being allowed time to process our emotions.
Yeah.
When everything's being hit at us and we've got all these devices and everything else, then we are not being allowed or afforded time to process our emotions. So we are going to be out of alignment the more we're on our phones, the more we're on computers. This is just and I can talk about what's even in these devices too, if you really want me to go there. So if we talk about 4 and 5 elements, the 4 and 5 elements of earth elements, if you look into the Japanese and Chinese traditions in that kind of respect, you talk about earth, air, fire, water. Usually they're the kind of standard. But then some traditions talk about wood or metal, or so it just depends on
ether as well. Yeah.
But that's ether is air, so usually interchangeably. So earth, air, fire, and water. If we just focus on those 4, just the basics, we can get into metal or wood later. But so earth. Well, we need to be grounded. This is humans, so we need all these elements for humans as well. Just like trees need these elements, they need, the air for the breeze. They need water for their soil to grow. Yeah. It needs the earth for the roots. And if you look at a lot of the Australian trees, like the Banksia, needs fire to propagate.
Yeah.
Not all trees need that, but often fire can clear things out and then it can grow back even better.
Yeah.
So many people underestimate that too. But if you use these concepts in a trauma-like fashion, this is what we actually need to be doing right now throughout the world. Yeah, right. The fires of a few years ago in Australia in particular, and there's been fires across the world, we've never healed from that.
Yeah.
We just went from fires into pandemic. We didn't heal. We didn't heal from all this stuff, but even in this space, the virtual space here, we tend to only have fire and air.
Yeah, right.
So that's something to think about, is we will be misaligned in this space. It's why I brought my water.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of it like that.
So because we are ungrounded.
Yeah, because the technology, right, as well, it must be a big part of it. Because technology, I know for me, ungrounds.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But I'm going somewhere deeper than that.
Yeah.
So if we look at the transpersonal area of work, but even if you look at the chakra system and all this other kind of stuff, so we need to be grounded as humans, to the earth, and it's why actually grounding works best if you take your shoes off. So I've taught and trained a lot of people to transition to working online over the last few years, and even before that point, so I've worked online for about 12 years. But the way I've stayed solid is to have different grounding practices for this and for this space. And sometimes I'll have a crystal in my hand, other times I'll just do different things. I'm sitting cross-legged, but I'm barefoot. So it's all about how are we connecting to ourselves before we're literally sending out our energy into this virtual space.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're sending out energy completely ungrounded and no one's thinking about it all the time. And so that adds weight to the ungrounded world. It adds weight to the unaligned world. It adds weight. So we then, you know, most of us are misaligned most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is one of the big issues. Yeah.
I
And yeah.
sorry, I'm
Sorry.
really sorry. I just wanted to add something to that came to me, which kind of links back to what you first said when you first came in, about how the younger generation can be, you know, of late very disrespectful, I guess, or to older generations. And I don't know if disrespectful is the right word, but you know,
whatever it is,
whatever you were saying before.
Yeah.
Something that I've heard a lot about recently is teachers coming forward about like they're literally leaving their jobs because of how much harder it is to teach the younger students. And I think as you're talking about this now, I made a connection where, you know, you're talking about alignment and how technology can be really make it a lot more difficult for that. I really just realized that a lot of children um have never experienced true alignment before because they're going straight to the iPad, they're going straight to the technology. And I know at least people my age, I think we kind of skipped that a little bit, like at least
Because you didn't have
in
it
our
when you were
younger
really
years.
little.
Yeah, like I never had the worst I had was like when I was little was like a DS, which was just like video games, and it really did separate. There was no social media or anything like that. And I mean, I still think that might not have been the best, but it definitely was nowhere near to the point where it is now. And I think, yeah, like 8-year-olds have Instagrams and 8-year-olds have Snapchat. And it's like, and I also see parents like pushing a pram and they buy iPad holders for the pram. And the kid is just like got the thing over the pram and the iPad right there as they're being outside on the path. Like, just you don't have to put it there. The baby will look around at the trees and it will be completely fine. And again, I'm not, I really am not,
I don't
my
realize.
intention isn't to pass judgment
No.
on any of these people that are doing this.
I don't think people realize
Yeah.
the impact of
People underestimate the elements.
Yeah,
I think people really underestimate the elements.
they underestimate the impact that the action of like the interaction between the baby and the screen is creating. I don't think they realize the impact of that.
So I can talk to that on another level. One of my colleagues, her name is Kath Nibbs, and she's a cyber trauma specialist.
Oh, really?
And she's so she's an interesting lady, and she's also transpersonal, so that's a whole other kind of conversation too.
Wow.
But she works with this, and she talks to exactly what you've just mentioned, Juliet. So for anyone who's interested, I think you just look up Kath Nibbs, and it's with CATHKNIBBS. And her work, she's written a PhD. She's, you know, she's got lots of stuff. She's on TEDx. So like she's amazing. And she's a friend of mine. So she's a really good person. And she talks to all of that kind of stuff. But she even goes one step further, that let's just go with the distance here between you and I, so I'm on my laptop. You're probably on a kind of desktop-y kind of thing by the look of it, based on how you guys are. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is the distance between me and the camera is the same distance, and they've designed it this way, as a mother breastfeeding their baby.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Replacement of attachment is real.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's designed to replace attachment.
Wow. That's just blown my mind. as a
Yeah.
mother
And
to two
yeah.
children, like that is
Mm-hmm.
so important to
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with your
Mm-hmm.
children, that attachment and that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nurturing and that gazing into each other's eyes and all of that stuff is so
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so replacement of attachment is real in this kind of space.
That's
No
just blown my
one's
mind.
No one's talking to this in terms of big numbers of people talking to this. No,
Wow.
because the dopamine in our phones, the dopamine in the phones works because it's just like a drug. They've designed it. They've designed our phones just like the pokies on purpose. So there's something called delaying gratification. Don't know if you've come across that term.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's instant gratification. Well, Instagram, why would they call it that?
Oh,
Instant gratification,
You're blowing our minds, Renee.
Instagram.
right? Yeah,
You're blowing our
right.
minds today.
So we all love lollies and things like this and fast food and junk and whatever because it's
Wow,
instant
man.
gratification, right? Everything that we're being fed in the world is instant gratification. That even includes digital ID, any kind of interactive stuff, even like this,
Yeah.
sadly. So, you know, we connected up with Facebook, this and that and the other. It's all instant gratification. The problem is
Sold
we've
to
lost
us as
sight of
convenience. So
exactly. But
yes.
convenience is instant gratification.
Yes.
Like that is alignment from them to us to try and make us misaligned because humans need delayed gratification. We need it.
Yes. Yes.
In order to learn the life lessons and have wisdom, we need delayed gratification.
Oh my God. Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
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 Okay. And this is the lost information of psychology. And psychologists aren't talking to this.
Yeah.
I studied this stuff at my college 20 odd years ago, and people aren't learning this stuff anymore.
I wonder why.
Yeah. This is why we need to question everything, as the saying goes, with a lot of people in different spaces these days. Because if we don't question ourselves, then we just are brainwashed.
Yeah, we
or
don't grow.
mind-numbingly on autopilot and
Yeah.
don't learn anything, and
Yeah.
then are just instant gratification drones and sheep following everyone else off the cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not learning to think for ourselves. We're not learning critical thinking skills. We're not learning how to problem solve. You know, those things all go out the window because we're just driven by our desires constantly.
Yeah. So we need to learn delayed gratification again.
Yeah.
I, honestly.
Oh, Renee, like, so this is all gold. Like, the way that you've laid it out for us and the way that it's coming across the information is like click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also to speak to what you were just saying about learning delayed gratification, I want to give an example of my own that has helped with this. Is to read, to entertain myself instead of being on my phone. And the reason I bring that up is because there are many, like, I guess, stronger ways in which I would like to practice delayed gratification. But for the time being, I know I'm really busy at the moment and I don't really, I'm finding ways that take me away from this goddamn thing.
And slow you down.
Slow me down.
Yeah.
And I think reading is a really good example of getting started on replacing the instant gratification habit. If you're picking up a book instead of TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever, for me, it has been life-changing because you're learning. Also, it is like a
Yep.
drug for me, finishing a book.
I
Yep.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like I want to finish this. I also another tip to
You do
people.
challenges, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have a reading challenge. So if you download
Awesome.
Goodreads, I'm sure a lot of people already know this, but I'm going to say it
Mhm.
anyway. If you download
Mhm.
Goodreads, you
Mhm.
can set a reading goal every year. So
Excellent.
you can make it as many books or as little books as you want. And obviously the goal is to complete that. And you add books, like it's a whole system online where you can like search up the book and you add it. I've read this year, this was the date that I read it, this is my review, this is my like however many star ratings out of 5. You
Oh,
get to
cool.
rate it
That's
and
cool.
review it, and you put it on. And
Mm.
this has been my
Mm.
delayed gratification practice this year,
Excellent.
because you have to
Yeah.
involve yourself into a whole other world to finish a book, but also
Yep.
that reviewing it and giving it that star rating and adding it to your reading list for that year is like drugs. It's like so
Mm.
good.
Mm.
But
Mm.
you have to really put effort in. You have to read a whole damn book to get to that point,
Mm.
So I think I just wanted to add that to this conversation, because if anyone is looking
Mm.
for a way
Mm.
to maybe practice delayed gratification, that's a really good way to do
Yeah,
it.
it's good
If you're
advice.
Yes.
really busy, if you don't have, if you're working a lot, replace
Mm.
social media time with reading time.
Mm. Yeah.
Yep. I agree with all of that. I'd say, and there's other options too,
Yeah, of
which
course.
I'll add in. Yeah. So going for a walk and actually taking your time,
Mm-hmm.
taking some self-care time, and actually looking, I mean, I'm looking at the moment out my window to the trees. You can feel the leaves in your fingers, or you can just look and breathe more deeply and look at the birds or the butterflies or the whatever's whatever's out there. Even if it's a fly, it's
Yeah.
actually about noticing. So this is where mindful practice comes in.
Mm,
Mindful practice helps with delayed gratification as well.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
this is my chicken soup, this conversation. It's like food for the soul,
Mm.
really is.
Mm.
I think we get so caught up in our busy schedules, and this stuff, this nuanced, this meaty, like in between the sinew stuff, gets really forgotten about. Like what you were saying,
Yeah.
unspoken stuff, the silence. Yeah, the silence that's like toxic.
Yes.
These conversations, I think, need to happen in families more and more often, between parents and children, about balance. Like we started the conversation talking about balance. And
Yep.
I think this is the stuff that will create the future adults who are whose words do actually they show up in life. They
And match.
match. Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of, actions speaking louder than words,
Yeah.
that's one thing. How someone acts shows you more about their character than their words.
Yes.
Because if you get cross and grumpy and just lose it, you can still be a good person.
Yes, that was my point. That was my point.
A big however. There's something, and this is a therapeutic term, so maybe you guys will love it too. There's a difference between situational issues or abuse or whatever, however you want to go down that track, or characterological.
Right.
Characterological is personality based.
Yeah.
And then it can't be changed.
Yeah.
And they are the evil people in the world.
Yeah, right. Because that's an actual choice that they're making.
Yeah.
No, they can't actually choose to not be there, which is even sadder.
Right. I see. I
It's
didn't know
innate.
that.
Yeah, it's innate within them. I'll give you
Okay.
an example. You can actually breed a serial killer.
Okay. Right. I didn't realize this.
The Malats are a really good example. Ivan Milat, Richard Milat,
Yeah.
they were bred to be serial killers. If you don't bring your children up with any empathy or any sympathy or any good feelings at all,
Right.
you will breed them to be horrible people. And this is what we're in trouble with on the earth right now, if
Yeah.
it all goes horrible. Because what happens is not just hurt people, horrible people raise more horrible people.
Yeah. Right.
And
This is why love, care, connection, and empathy has to win.
So
Because
people,
otherwise,
so
yeah,
people
sorry.
aren't realizing. So what you're saying is that people are raising children, not realizing that the practices like the screens and all of this sort of thing are contributing to this raising horrible people, like in not
Yep.
knowing that that's what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
contributing to that thing.
We froze for a second there, but I heard what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're not realizing they're contributing to that. So say, for example, if you say horrible, terrible things to your kids every single day, so sometimes you might just say, "Oh, why have you been silly? Or why have you been stupid?" You know, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what
No,
I'm
you're
talking about.
talking about like routinely.
Yeah. We're talking about if you say to your kid, "You're a horrible person," they'll start believing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what isn't humanity doing that to themselves at the moment?
yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
are telling ourselves constantly that, like at the moment, if you're born a white, straight male in society, you're considered to be the
Which is a
worst.
lot of people, by the
Yeah,
way.
you're considered to be the worst person
The scum of the earth.
on the planet.
Yeah.
So we're doing it to ourselves at the moment. We're saying that we are
Yeah.
horrible people. Like, we're
Yeah.
horrible. Humans are horrible people. We're parasites to the earth and all of this. We tell ourselves this every day. We hear these messages everywhere.
Because that's what the powers that be want us to believe. And guess what? It becomes a mantra in our head, and you
Yeah.
become that.
Yeah.
You become your thoughts, and you become the propagandized thoughts too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
think
why I switch it all off. I don't
think
watch it.
Yeah.
it's so important
Yeah.
in today's world and more so moving forward that we make positivity and being the light such
Mm.
a priority because
Mm.
like I seriously have noticed since being a kid to now, the mindset of people is so much more negative. I mean, it was negative to
Mm.
begin with when I
Is
was
that
young.
why you're always on at me if I'm in, like yesterday? Is that
Well,
why
I think
you're
you can be a bit negative sometimes. I love you. I love you. I love you.
I love you, but
You can be a bit negative towards people, and I think that's
I
even
think
as
that's situational though.
I think it happens a lot. And it happens a lot because people are negative a lot. And I
But
that's,
if
I'm not putting that on
oh,
you. I think it's the
this,
reaction.
Let Renee say what she needs to say.
I guess I need to talk to this about what's
Yeah.
going on too.
Yeah.
If humanity is under a negative cloud, and this happened even in the Second World War, so if we want to go with past history, and I think that's probably the best indicator, it's then families split up, people start being more drunk or take too many drugs or all this kind of stuff. This stuff happens because if there's a negative cloud over society, people don't feel like they fit in. We have these lockdowns, separations, social isolation, social distancing, all this kind of stuff. It leads to more and more and more negativity.
Yeah.
It's not one person's fault for being negative, but people aren't realizing how do we turn this boat around because the when we're head first into about the iceberg and we're the Titanic, you know. So, and this is humanity is the Titanic, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm not just saying this because I think we also need to talk about realism. So there's realism
Yes.
versus positivity, optimism versus pessimism. So pessimism is the thing, right? So I think what Juliet is trying to go to is like, so each and every one of us are trying to get to homeostasis every day. But if we can't get to homeostasis in society, because it's really hard, then it can be really hard to get it within ourselves.
Yes.
Because what happens within happens without, what happens without happens within. So like then if there's heaps of toxicity, then we're literally almost eating it. So more and more, what probably needs to happen is some really different things, and there needs to be a massive shift towards not just positivity, it's about realism, love, hope, faith, empathy, and connection. And that's what needs to be pushed more than positivity or negativity, because I think the issue is there are real people with real issues. And, I hear you need to be positive. And I'm like, you're not taking me fucking seriously then, excuse my French.
Sometimes
like, you're
can't.
You're not taking me seriously then. If you can't, hear what I have to say, you're not taking me seriously. And you're not respecting my position here.
Yeah. So well said, Renee.
Because there's always two or more sides to every single story.
Yeah.
And and then there's if we want to go down another track, there's the thick narrative and the thin narrative, and everyone wants their narrative to be the thick narrative.
Yeah, right.
So if you talk about reading books and all that, so everyone wants to have their stories on top and all this kind of stuff. It's how humans are. So this is the sad side. This is the ego side of humans. Big part of it is most people just want to win, and our society is made for winners and losers, and that just drives us all crazy.
Yeah.
The winner and loser game drives us all crazy.
Yeah.
But actually having love in your heart, it's not just about being loving, having love in your heart for your fellow human is where it's at. It doesn't matter what their political viewpoints are. It doesn't matter what's going on in their life. If you judge, as Jesus says, judge not lest ye be judged.
Yeah. Oh,
and Renee. The problem is at the moment, there's so much judgment.
Yeah.
And you do not know what the other person is going through until you walk a mile in their shoes.
Yeah.
You don't know a single thing. And if you haven't had a conversation with that other person, you don't know a single thing. I mean, I'm not trying to justify that guy's bad behavior, but there could be something going on with him too.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But my point is that we all have our own challenges, but you don't need to take that out into society and, put it onto other people like that.
Absolutely. There's a balance between taking personal responsibility and, and accountability for what you've done.
Accountability, that's the one.
Yeah. Taking accountability and even making amends, because that's the next step,
Yeah.
So, and then we can talk into, family work that I do is reparation and, if there's family rupture, then you go into repair. Not enough people are talking about repair. How do we repair this? So we're always talking about this rupture. Oh, this is trauma. This is okay. So what about post-traumatic growth? I talk to that in my book. We need to talk about what can trauma bring, like positivity stuff. So, we might have had the fires a few years ago, but what have we learned from that? We might have had COVID. What have we learned? How can we repair?
Yeah.
We need the repair.
Yeah.
So this conversation, we have to go, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Me too.
This conversation, though, is so important. And I think we should have you on again very soon to talk about this next part of this conversation. So the repair.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should carry it on like a series of conversations. I really think that
Yeah.
that's important, because everything
What does
that you
repair look like?
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. Because everything that you've spoken about today has blown my mind. Like, because a lot of it is I've been feeling it and seeing it, but not being able to articulate it. And you've articulated it beautifully today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot, because the sad fact is, because everybody's in this instant world, they're not
Yeah.
willing to listen to wisdom of someone. I've helped thousands of people they've had ruptures and helped them repair.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay,
Mm.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Renee. I'll contact you after this and we'll set up another day, okay?
Yeah, and
Yep.
thank you
Thank you.
everyone for watching, and it's going to take me about a week to process this information. So good luck to you all as well watching to
Yeah, to process.
Thanks,
all this.
Juliet. Thank you,
Right.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.